The alien scientists are curious. On a distant alien world, hidden far from Earth's eyes, a research station floated in space above a quiet planet. Inside, 5 alien scientists stood around a glowing screen. Their faces were serious. Their 4 eyes blinked slowly. Their skin shimmered with shades of blue and silver. These were the Varelians, known across the galaxy for their intelligence and curiosity. The leader, Dr. Zerani, leaned forward and stared at the footage on the monitor. "Replay it again," she said, her voice calm but full of confusion. The screen showed a male human and a female human in a small room. The lights were dim, their bodies close. For the 5th time, the team watched the same moment. When the footage ended, silence filled the room. Then Dr. Zerani spoke again. "This is the 3rd day in a row. Same male, same activity. No medical. Rest, no signs of damage." Another alien biologist, Nartho, rubbed his chin. "It makes no sense," he muttered. "Human males do not have regeneration abilities. Their bones break, their muscles tear. Yet this one..." He continues. Again and again. The youngest alien on the team, Tarka, looked nervous. "Are we sure this data is accurate?" Dr. Zerani turned toward him. "Direct satellite footage, full-spectrum sensors. His body should have stopped functioning after day 2. But it didn't," Nartho added, shaking his head. "Instead, his vitals improved. Stronger pulse, more stamina. It's as if he gets more powerful the more he..." He stopped, unsure how to explain in scientific terms. "Mates," Tarka whispered. The room fell silent again. Dr. Zerani stepped back and crossed her arms. "We have studied over 100 species. Most need recovery time, hormonal balance, mental rest. But this is something else." Tarka leaned forward. "Maybe it's just that one human? Maybe he is a genetic mistake." "No," Nartho replied. "We ran background checks. His name is Connor Reeves, age 28, former soldier, now civilian. Completely normal, on paper. But inside, there is something unusual." Zerani stared at the screen again. "Only one way to be sure." Everyone turned toward her. "We bring him in." Tarka gasped. "Abduct him?" Zerani nodded slowly, peacefully, quietly, just for study. "But what if he resists?" Nartho asked. "Then we sedate him." "We are not savages," Zerani replied. At that moment, a red light blinked on the wall. It was the main AI voice. "Alert. Human subject has left his home. He is walking alone, in a forest path. No other humans nearby." "Perfect," Zerani said. "Deploy the drone, now." Far away, back on Earth, Connor walked alone through a quiet forest. Leaves crunched under his boots. The air was cool. He didn't know that in the sky above, a black orb floated silently, watching him. Suddenly, the orb glowed blue. A sharp sound buzzed through the trees. Connor turned. "What the hell?" A flash of light surrounded him, and then he vanished. Back. In the alien lab, Connor lay unconscious on a white table. His breathing was calm. Electrodes attached to his body showed strong vitals. Dr. Zerani watched from behind a glass wall. "He's stable," Nartho said, "and still no signs of damage or internal stress." "Run a full scan," Zerani ordered. Machines hummed. A 3D model of Connor's body appeared in the air. Muscles, nerves, organs. Everything looked normal. But there was one strange thing. "Wait," Tarka said. "Zoom in on the lower abdomen area. Look at that tissue structure." "What in the stars?" Nartho whispered. They all stared. Connor's reproductive organ showed unusual flexibility, extreme blood flow control, and internal muscle patterns no other species had. "This is not normal," Zerani whispered. "This is design. This is evolution under pressure. It's as if the human body was shaped by survival, war, and desire." Tarka added, "Maybe it's not just physical. Maybe it's psychological. Maybe humans want to keep mating, even if it breaks them." A sudden movement on the table made them jump. Connor's eyes opened. He blinked twice, looked around, then said, "Where the hell am I?" The scientists froze. He sat up slowly, looked at the aliens behind the glass. He didn't scream. He didn't panic. Instead, he smiled. Well, this is new. And with that smile, the aliens felt something they had never felt before. Curiosity was now turning into fear. The human is not what they expected. The alien scientists stood still as Connor sat up on the lab table, stretching his arms like he had just woken up from a nap. Behind the glass, Dr. Zerani whispered, "He's awake already?" "That's not possible." The sedative was for 12 hours. Connor looked around, eyes calm and alert. Then he stared straight into the observation window even though the glass was one way. "I know you're watching," he said. Everyone in the lab flinched. Tarka whispered, Can he see us?" "He shouldn't," said Nartho. "It's reinforced with cloaking film." But Connor stood up, unbothered, and walked toward the wall. He placed his palm right where Zerani stood behind the glass. "Nice window, little cold though." Zerani stepped back. "He's not supposed to be this aware. He was unconscious 5 minutes ago." Connor continued talking, his tone casual. "Look, I don't know where I am, but I know one thing. You're not here to kill me." "Why would you say that?" Tarka asked, stunned. "Because I'm not restrained," Connor replied, looking at the hidden ceiling camera. "That means you're curious. You want to ask me things, maybe even study me. Am I right?" Zerani sighed. "Let's bring him into the question chamber, but keep scanners ready. Something about him isn't right." A few minutes later, Connor sat in a white room with curved chairs and smooth lights. 3 aliens entered, Zerani, Nartho, and Tarka. Connor looked them over. "Let me guess. You're the brains, you're the muscle, and you—" He pointed to Tarka. "You're the rookie." Tarka blinked. "What's a rookie?" Connor smirked. "Never mind." Zerani sat across from him. "We want to understand something about your species, about your endurance." Connor raised an eyebrow. "Endurance? You mean how I can keep going, nonstop?" "Yes," Nartho said. "Humans like you mate daily, sometimes more than once per day, with no medical rest, no collapse, no organ failure." Connor leaned forward. "Yeah, so?" Zerani said, "That would destroy most species. It should cause pain, loss of function, but your kind just continue." Connor laughed. "You think that's strange? You haven't seen humans at a wedding party? Or spring break?" Zerani frowned. "Explain." Connor shrugged. "We're built for it. Pain, pleasure, pressure, we push through it. You study biology. I live it." Tarka leaned in. "But how does your body not break? The tissue in your lower body should rupture." Connor leaned back. "Want the secret?" The aliens all focused. He tapped his chest. "It's not here." Then his head. "It's not even here." Then he pointed to his heart. "It's here." The room went quiet. "You think mating is just a function," Connor said. "But for us, it's about connection, emotion, trust. That's why our bodies adapt. Because it's not just physical." Zerani exchanged a look with Nartho. "Is he trying to confuse us?" Connor smiled. "Or maybe I'm telling you more truth than you've ever heard." Meanwhile, in the surveillance room, a 4th alien, Dr. Velra, a behavior expert, watched the live feed. "He's reversing the interrogation," she muttered. "They wanted to test him. Instead, he's testing them." Back in the chamber, Connor's body began showing something strange. The sensors read increased blood flow, faster muscle recovery, and even elevated brain activity, without any stimulation. "He's adapting again," Tarka whispered. "Even now." Connor looked right at him. "You ever heard of the phrase, practice makes perfect?" Zerani stood. "This changes everything. We can't study him like this. We must run a more complete experiment." Connor tilted his head. "More complete? You will meet someone from our species," Zerani said. "You will..." Interact. Physically. We want to observe it live. Connor blinked. So you want me to? He pointed around. With an alien. Yes, Serrani said. It is required. Connor paused for a moment, then said, Well, I guess I'm going interstellar. Later that night, in a special room prepared with sensors and monitors, a tall, elegant female alien entered. Her name was Yalexa, and she had been selected as the most compatible candidate. She stood in front of Connor, quiet and unsure. Connor looked at her kindly. Hey, don't worry. We'll take it slow. Yalexa took one step forward, but then stopped. She stared at him. Her breathing changed. Her heart rate went up. I can't, she whispered. Alarms beeped. She backed away, holding her chest. His energy, it's overwhelming. She ran from the room. In the hallway, she gasped for air. He's not normal. He's dangerous. Inside the lab, the scientists watched, stunned. Connor sat alone in the room, sipping water like nothing happened. Then he looked up at the camera and said, Next time, pick someone with a stronger heart. Their best female alien fails the test. Yalexa didn't report back to the lab. She locked herself in her private quarters and sat on the floor, shaking. Her hands were cold. Her mind raced. He's not human, she whispered to herself. He can't be. Outside her room, guards waited nervously. No one had ever seen Yalexa, the top-ranked bonding expert, back away from a subject, especially not from a mating test. Meanwhile, in the observation room, Dr. Zerani rewatched the footage, frame by frame. Slow motion. Yalexa entered. Her vital signs were normal. She looked at Connor. 1 second. 2 seconds. Then everything changed. Heart rate spiked. Body temperature rose. Emotional sensors burst into red. She experienced intense, emotional and chemical overload without a single touch. How did he do this without speaking a word? Nartho asked, stunned. He didn't even move, Tarka added, his voice low. He just looked at her. Dr. Velra entered the room with a strange look on her face. It's not just his body. It's his presence. It's affecting their instincts. Serrani turned to her. Explain. Velra tapped on a screen and pulled up footage from earlier tests. We scanned for biological pressure, hormonal waves. But Connor is doing something else. Something deeper. Something mental. You mean like telepathy? No, Velra said. Worse. He's triggering emotional resonance. Every female alien in proximity to him experiences an emotional wave, like trust, fear, longing, even arousal. Without words, without touch. Tarka's eyes widened. So he's not just strong, he's dangerous. Zerani nodded slowly. We underestimated him. Inside his room, Connor laid on the soft alien bed, one leg crossed, staring at the ceiling. He knew they were watching. Always watching. He smiled to himself and whispered, I didn't even try. The door opened. A new face stepped in. She was tall, with pale violet skin and glowing blue eyes. She looked half nervous, half angry. Connor sat up. Don't tell me you're the next contestant. She didn't respond. I'm Connor, he said casually. You are Jigsaw, she said. Her voice was calm but firm. Well, Jigsaw, are we doing this your way or mine? She blinked. This is not a test. I'm here by choice. The council didn't send me. I requested it. Connor raised an eyebrow. Why? She walked closer. Because no one affects Yalexa like that. Not even in combat simulation. And you didn't even touch her. I'm a people person, Connor said with a grin. Jigsaw ignored the humor. If you are a threat to my kind, I'll know by the end of this meeting. And if I'm not, then maybe I'll understand why you survive so much mating without injury. Connor laughed. Is that really what this is about? You think I'm a machine? She stepped closer. I think you're a mystery. In the lab, Velra whispered to the others. She's immune to most emotional frequencies. She won't fall like Alexa. But as the camera zoomed in, they noticed something strange. Jixali stood still, eyes locked with Connor's. For over 1 full minute, neither moved. No touch, no sound. Yet her body began to react. Heart rate increased, skin temperature rose, oxygen levels fluctuated. Emotional sensors showed confusion and vulnerability. Zirani stood frozen. Even she is not immune. Connor finally broke the silence. You don't want answers, Jixali. You want control. But here's the thing about humans. He stood up slowly. We don't survive because we're the strongest. We survive because we feel everything. Pain, joy, desire, and we don't break, we adapt. Jixali stepped back, slightly breathless. I'm not here to destroy you, Connor said softly. But if you keep trying to test me like a lab rat, someone's going to get hurt. Are you threatening me? No, Connor said. I'm warning you. He leaned closer. The moment you turn love into science, it stops being love. Then, suddenly the lights flickered. Alarms buzzed. Dr. Velra gasped. The resonance level just hit the threshold. He's affecting the base's entire lower deck. Zirani shouted, shut down the emotional sensors. Isolate the room. Too late. Female. Staff members across the station reported strange dreams, increased heartbeats, some even fainting. And Connor? He just sat back down, calm, relaxed. Jixali looked at him one last time before turning and walking out. But this time, she didn't report anything. She just whispered to herself, he didn't even touch me. Connor breaks the experiment. Connor was alone again, or so they thought. The white room was quiet, filled with soft light and humming machines. There were no restraints, no guards. Just a chair, a table, and one human, sitting calmly, like he had already won. In the control room above, Dr. Zirani paced back and forth. We tried everything: physical testing, psychological scans, emotional resonance mapping, and every time he turns it back on us. Nartho frowned. He's not using violence, he's using presence, influence. How do you stop something you can't detect with science? Tarka looked worried. Should we send in the extraction team? Sedate him and wipe his memory? Velra raised a hand. No. If we do that, we learn nothing. Instead, let him think he's free. Zirani's eyes narrowed. A behavioral trap? Velra nodded. Yes. If he's as smart as he seems, he'll try to escape. Let's see how he does it. Connor was already 3 steps ahead. He knew they were watching. He knew they were listening. So he didn't try to break doors or hack machines. Instead, he did something unexpected. He started talking, loudly, casually, like he was chatting with friends. I know you're listening, he said. So here's a story. It's about a creature called a fox. Clever, quiet, and always underestimated. He paced the room slowly, hands behind his back. This fox was caught by hunters. They put him in a cage, fed him, studied him. But one day the cage door was left open. He paused. The hunters watched, thinking the fox would run, but the fox just sat there, calm, smiling. Zirani stared at the screen. Is this a parable? Connor continued. And then, while the hunters waited, the hunter became the hunted, because the fox wasn't escaping. He was inviting them in. He looked directly into the corner camera. Like I'm doing now. Alarm should have gone off, but didn't, because nothing had happened, and that was the problem. Velra muttered, he's playing a psychological game. Or, Tarka said, he already knows where the exit is. Zirani's eyes widened. Check internal systems. In the hidden part of the base, far from the main lab, a cleaning drone beeped and rolled to a stop. Its circuits glitched. A soft voice played from its speaker. Thanks for the ride, little buddy. The top popped open, and Connor climbed out. How did he? Velra gasped as she saw the live camera feed from the drone storage. Connor, Had used a delivery bot, no force, no hacking, just careful observation and perfect timing. Back in the lab, Tarka slapped the console. The man escaped inside a trash drone? No, Serrani whispered. He didn't escape. He infiltrated. Connor now stood in the central AI control room, where the station's core systems were managed. No one expected him to come. Here, not to escape, but to learn. He looked at the glowing alien screen and smiled. Let's see how much you've learned about me, and how much I can learn about you. The screen lit up. Data flowed, scientific logs, emotional charts, biometric notes on dozens of alien species, all trying to understand human intimacy. Connor read quietly, then said, "You were looking for a weakness, but the thing you fear is our strength." Behind him, a door hissed open. Serrani stood there, unarmed, alone. "You could have run," she said. "I still can," he replied. "But I wanted answers." They stared at each other. "You're not just curious," Connor said. "You're afraid. You found something in us that doesn't fit your logic." Serrani nodded slowly. "Yes, you love with your mind, your body, and your emotions all at once. No species does that. It gives you strength and makes you unpredictable." Connor took a step forward. "You thought mating was biology, but it's more than that. It's about trust. About giving someone the power to break you and hoping they don't." Serrani didn't respond. Connor continued. "You studied my muscles, my hormones, but you never studied my heart." For a moment, Serrani looked down. Then she did something no alien had done so far. She opened the control room door. "You're free to go." Connor blinked. "No more tests? No more cages," she said. "But if you ever choose to come back not as a subject, but as a teacher." Connor smiled, turned, and walked out. The camera feed faded to black, and across the stars somewhere in the Varelian archives, a new classification was added. Species, human status, emotionally armed warning. Do not attempt to understand them with science alone. They love harder than you can measure. The Alien Council declares him dangerous. Across the stars, in a chamber made of light and crystal, the Varelian High Council gathered. 10 alien leaders, each from a different world, sat in silence. Above them floated a single glowing image: Connor Reeves, human, emotionally armed, escaped subject. The data displayed his scans, the failed experiments, and the strange aftermath: emotional breakdowns, disrupted female instincts, and a rising curiosity about humans across entire species. High Elder Zurin of the Thought Winds broke the silence. "This male caused a resonance breach without touching a single being." Dr. Serrani stood in the middle of the chamber, head lowered. "Yes, Elder. He escaped without force, but his presence, his aura, triggered mass emotional feedback in every female unit who interacted with him." "Are you saying this human is a weapon?" asked Elder Mizal, the war-born reptilian matriarch of Skirgalon. Velra, also present, stepped forward. "Not a weapon, Elders. Something more dangerous." "Explain," Zurin ordered. Velra took a deep breath. "He didn't escape to hurt us. He escaped to teach us. But what he taught shook our foundation. For eons we believed love is weakness, biology is function, and intimacy is risk. But this human made our strongest females feel safe, desired, connected." "Blasphemy," hissed Elder Mizal. "Such ideas spread, and our order collapses." Zuran narrowed his eyes. "Have these ideas already spread?" Velra hesitated. "Yes." A screen lit up. Reports flashed in sequence. Alien females requesting Earth history. Soldiers asking about human poetry. Scientists reading old Earth novels titled Love, Sacrifice, and Strength. A rising interest in emotional bonding among even the coldest species. "Containment has failed," said Velra quietly. "Connor Reeves didn't just walk out of the lab. He walked into the minds of our people. Zuran's crystal staff lit up with deep violet energy. Then we must act. He looked around the chamber. The human male known as Connor Reeves is hereby classified as a level 7 emotional contaminant. His presence is destabilizing. His biology uncontainable. His word seductive. He must be detained or eliminated. The chamber echoed with finality, but not all were in agreement. From the shadows a voice spoke. I oppose. Heads turned. Yalexa stepped out, cloaked, her eyes calm but burning with quiet defiance. You saw fear, she said. I saw understanding. Zuran frowned. You were compromised. You fled the experiment. I was awakened, Yalexa replied. You think he is dangerous because he made me feel emotions I couldn't control. But maybe those emotions were never meant to be controlled. Maybe that's why he scared you. The chamber murmured. Elder Meisel slammed her clawed fist on the table. He threatens balance. He offers choice, Yalexa said. And that is more powerful than balance. Zuran's voice cut through the room. Enough. Yalexa, you are hereby removed from the science order. I don't serve your science anymore, she said, turning away. Velra's voice rose again. If we hunt him now, we prove his point, that we fear what we don't understand. Zuran growled. Then let fear be our shield. Meanwhile, on a neutral world called Trisari, Connor walked through a crowded marketplace filled with dozens of alien races. None of them knew he had escaped a lab. None of them knew he had been declared dangerous, but some looked at him just a little too long. Some female aliens whispered when he passed. A Sarnari vendor, with her 4 arms and soft blue skin, handed him fruit without asking for payment. You, remind me of the stories, she said. The ones about humans. Is it true you can love, even in pain? Connor smiled. Love without pain isn't real. The vendor blushed, an unusual sight for her kind. But behind the crowd, 3 shadows moved. Stealth armor, weapons, eyes trained on one man. The Varelian Council had sent a capture squad. Connor didn't run. He simply waited. When the 3 stepped forward, he turned, hands raised. You know, he said, you don't have to do this. By order of the Council, you are to be detained and silenced. But I'm already heard, Connor replied. All across your systems, all across your people, you can lock me up. He pointed to the crowd. But they've already seen what I am. And they're curious, just like you were. The crowd began to gather, curious and alert. One of the soldiers hesitated. A female Sarnari stepped forward and stood beside Connor. Then another alien woman did the same. Then a third, until the 3 soldiers realized they were surrounded. Not by warriors, but by witnesses. Connor leaned in and whispered, You lost the moment you tried to cage an idea. They vanished into the crowd before backup could arrive. Back on the council world, a message appeared on Elder Zuran's desk. Containment failed, emotional uprising in progress. And at the bottom, unsigned, a single sentence. You tried to bury him, but he was a seed. Alien biology versus human durability. The rain on the rooftop of the hidden outpost on Velthera 9 was soft, almost musical. Alien wind carried the scent of wild blossoms from the forest outside. Inside, Connor sat at the edge of a strange glass balcony, looking into the alien night sky, sipping a warm herbal drink gifted by the locals. He was supposed to be hiding. Instead, he was healing. Behind him, footsteps approached, quiet, careful. It was Yalexa. No longer in her lab uniform, she wore soft travel robes. Her usual confidence was gone, replaced by something more human. Uncertainty. You're not afraid, she said, sitting beside him. Of being found? Connor asked. No, of being misunderstood. He looked at her. That I'm used. To silence followed, but it wasn't awkward. Yalexa stared at the night sky. They called you a virus, a contaminant. But I've studied viruses, they kill, you didn't. Connor turned to her. Didn't I? She looked at him, surprised. I made you feel, he said softly. Feel things your kind suppressed for generations. Desire, sadness, joy. That can be more dangerous than any weapon. Yalexa looked down. I don't know what to do with those feelings. Feel them, he said. She closed her eyes for a moment, steadying her breath. I asked to test you again, but this time my way. Not in a lab, not for the council, for me. Connor didn't move. I want to understand how a human like you can bond, touch, give, without breaking. He nodded slowly. Then you'll have to stop observing and start experiencing. They moved into the meditation chamber, an alien-designed space meant for healing and connection. Soft light moved across the walls. No cameras, no lab tech, just silence, warmth, and two beings from different worlds. Yalexa placed her hand against his chest. Slowly, his heartbeat, steady, warm, real. She whispered, Your skin is softer than ours. Warmer. Yours shimmers like moonlight, he replied. She smiled for the first time. Then something incredible happened. The chamber reacted. Glowing lines traced along the walls. Biosensitive energy systems, powered by emotional connection, began to light up one by one. Yalexa gasped. This room is only meant to respond to deep internal truth. Connor said nothing. He simply closed his eyes and took her hand. Meanwhile, back at the council's bioscience labs, a young Varelian intern stumbled upon something strange in the data left from Connor's first tests. He called over his supervisor. Look at this. It was a hidden layer of the scan, a faint, unclassified energy signature inside Connor's lower nervous system. Not electrical, not hormonal, something else. Emotion-bound biofield, the supervisor whispered. It's not physical. It's not chemical. It's conscious. Back in the outpost chamber, Yalexa felt it too. The deeper she connected, the more her body reacted, but not in the way the scientists feared. Her pulse slowed. Her stress levels dropped. Her thoughts cleared. Her fear vanished. I thought bonding was dangerous, she whispered. Connor leaned his forehead gently against hers. Only when it's forced. Tears filled her eyes. She didn't even know she could cry. My people told us that emotions were distractions, she said. But you feel everything and still remain whole. No, he said softly. I don't remain whole. I break. I hurt, but I rebuild. That's the human part. The chamber bloomed around them. Light, warmth, soft pulses of color. Outside, alien birds began singing. Inside, Yalexa pressed her cheek against his chest and said something no one in her kind had said in over 1,000 years, I feel safe. And the chamber responded by recording a once-in-a-lifetime reading, a perfect neural sync between two different species. Not through machines, not through manipulation, through trust. Later, as they laid beside each other under a shared blanket of alien cloth, Yalexa whispered, This changes everything. It should, Connor replied, but only if your people are ready. They aren't, she admitted. They want you gone. Connor turned to face her. Then we show them what I really am. She paused. What are you? He smiled. Not a god, not a weapon, just a man who feels deeply. Back at the council chamber, a new report had arrived. Subject Connor Reeves survived cross-species. Bonding. Partner, Yalexa, genetically incompatible. Result, no physical damage, no fatigue. Observation. Both subjects show improved mental stability and physical energy. Conclusion. Human bonding enhances both parties. Zuran crushed the report. In his fist, he's spreading faster than an infection, Mizal growled. Then we must move faster. No more capture, prepare the erasure fleet. He dies with the planet he hides on. But a voice came from the far end of the room. A new voice. Yalexa. Appearing via hologram, she stood beside Connor. Then, come, she said, eyes glowing with something ancient and powerful. But know this, what you're trying to kill is no longer just human. Connor stepped forward beside her. It's an idea. And you can't kill an idea, especially not one that feels. The universe learns about humans. The skies above Velthera 9 were no longer peaceful. Dozens of dark triangular ships began to fill the atmosphere. Each ship bore the seal of the Varelian High Council, the feared Erasure Fleet. From orbit, a cold voice echoed through every speaker across the planet. Attention. This world is harboring a level 7 emotional contaminant. Surrender the subject known as Connor Reeves, or face complete memory cleansing and planetary reset. People panicked. Alien villagers fled into caves. Scientists and scholars hid their research. But not everyone ran. Some stayed, including Yalexa, and Connor stood beside her at the temple hilltop overlooking the village, calm, steady, and unarmed. They're serious, Yalexa said, scanning the sky. They will wipe this world. They've done it before. Connor nodded. Then we stop them before they press the button. You can't fight a fleet, she whispered. I'm not going to fight them. He turned to her with a soft smile. I'm going to talk to them. The next morning, Connor sent a universal transmission from the old communication spire on the hill, one signal, one voice, broadcast to every ship, station, and star that would listen. The Varelians tried to block it, but it spread too fast, shared, duplicated, echoed. By the time they realized, the entire galactic network was watching. One single human, standing on a balcony of vines and stone. He spoke plainly, in basic galactic standard, his voice soft yet impossible to ignore. You wanted to know how a human can mate 365 days a year, without breaking? He paused, smiled. That's the wrong question. The real question is this: how do we keep loving, even when we break? Billions across the galaxy leaned in. You studied my biology, my strength, my so-called durability. You saw numbers, cells, hormones. But you never saw what makes us human. We're not strong because of what we endure physically. We're strong because we choose to love even when it hurts. We lose people, we get rejected, we feel shame, heartbreak, fear, and yet, we still love again. We still try. That's what you can't measure in a lab. That's what makes us different. The camera zoomed gently as he stepped forward. Some of your people think I'm dangerous, that I made your women feel things they shouldn't, that I turned mating into something unpredictable. But tell me, what's more dangerous? A being who touches without feeling, or one who feels everything and still chooses to touch with care? Yalexa stepped into frame behind him. Her presence alone made thousands of alien leaders shift in their seats. She spoke next. I was a scientist. I believed emotions were flaws. Love was weakness. Humans were reckless. But I was wrong. This man didn't infect us. He reminded us what we used to be. Before fear, before control, before we forgot. The video feed shook. The Varelian Council had launched a signal jammer, but by then, it was too late. The message had been downloaded millions of times. Aliens across hundreds of planets watched, shared, translated. Even hardened warlords paused their fleets to view it. And on every screen, Connor ended his speech with one final line. I am not the strongest human, not the smartest. I bleed, I ache, I cry. But I also laugh, hold, and love. That's why I survive. That's how we all survive. 365 days a year. We break, but we love again. In the command chamber of the Erasure Fleet's flagship, Zuran roared, "Shut him down, burn the spire, wipe the planet!" But his generals didn't respond. They stared at their consoles. Zuran's voice grew sharper. What are you waiting for? Fire! Elder Mizal leaned forward. Sir, we just received orders from over a dozen allied systems. They refuse to support this action. Zuran's eyes widened. Another commander added, Even our own soldiers. Some are refusing to follow, especially the females. Zuran clenched his fists. He corrupted them all. Maisal turned to him. No, she said softly. He woke them up. Down on the surface, something even more unexpected happened. Ships began landing, but not from the erasure fleet. These were diplomatic vessels, civilian transports, science cruisers. Aliens of all types began arriving to meet the human, to ask, to learn, to understand. An elder from the Yasari matrons, a species that banned intimacy centuries ago, stepped forward and said, "We wish to study your way, not in a lab, but in truth." A young warrior from the frost world of Korzak bowed low and offered a gift, a blade carved with the word resilience in his native script. "Your love is more dangerous than any war," he said, "and more honorable." Connor stood overwhelmed. For once he was speechless, but Yalexa wasn't. She turned to the crowd and spoke the final words. "This is not about mating or biology. This is about remembering that connection is survival. That strength without love is empty. He taught us that by simply being human." Far across the stars, the Varelian Council fractured. Zuran was removed from power. Yalexa was appointed as ambassador of emotional study, a new branch never before allowed in their society. Connor? He refused any titles. Instead, he asked for something simple, a small home under the trees of Velthera 9, where he could live, teach, and be. Soon, alien scholars came one by one. Some stayed, some just asked questions, some cried. Connor welcomed them all. 6 months later, the galaxy was different. Some planets reopened ancient temples once meant for bonding rituals. Others introduced emotional training to soldier programs, learning how feeling deeply made warriors more focused, not weaker. A few even established human schools, not to teach earth science, but earth heart. One alien poet wrote, "They feared he could not break, but it was his willingness to break again and again that made him unbreakable." A young alien girl with greenish hair and silver eyes ran through a meadow on Velthera 9. Behind her, her mother called out, "Wait! Be careful!" The girl laughed and ran into the arms of an older man sitting beneath a tree. Connor lifted her gently and smiled. "Tell me, little spark, what did we learn today?" The girl beamed. "That love is not weakness. Love is what makes us strong." He nodded. She added, "And that humans can mate every day because their hearts are even stronger than their bodies." Connor laughed out loud. "Close enough." In the distance, a group of alien students waited under the shade, ready for the next lesson. Connor stood slowly and walked toward them. Not a soldier, not a test subject, not a threat, but a symbol of something the galaxy had almost forgotten: love, resilience, humanity. They came looking for a weakness, but they found the reason why humanity endures, not because we are unbreakable, but because we choose to love even after breaking.